Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 18 Beta 1. iOS 18 Beta 1 is out to developers. The public beta will release in July according to Apple, usually around the time of iOS 18 Beta 2, and then the final public release will typically release sometime in mid-September, usually around the next iPhone launch. This time around it will be the iPhone 16 models. Now the great news with this update is it supports all of the same phones that are supported with iOS 17, so the iPhone XR, XS, XS Max, all the way up to the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max, and iPhone 16 models when they release later this year. Now this overall size was pretty large at 7.11 gigabytes on my 15 Pro Max, and was just under 7 gigabytes on the 14 Pro Max, so a pretty large update overall, but it overwrites everything. Now, Apple also released many other updates such as iPadOS 18, watchOS 11 Beta 1, along with visionOS 2.0, tvOS and HomePodOS, and all of the other regular beta updates. So we'll cover those in separate videos. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go to Settings, then General, then About. As you can see, the build number is 22A5282M. This particular build is the first early preview. There will be other builds coming a little bit later, and usually by the time we get to the letter A or close to it is when we get a final RC release. Now there is a modem update in this one if you're coming from iOS 17.5.1, so hopefully that will make some changes with overall connectivity. Now, as far as the first new features, changes, and updates, well, the home screen is the first big one. If we zoom in here, you'll see on my home screen, nothing really looks too different except for maybe the widget here. We'll talk about that in a moment, but maybe if we want to bring this icon over here, we'll bring over Apple News, start a new page, we'll place it here. Maybe we'll bring in the developer app. We can place it over here. We can now place icons wherever we'd like. So if I want to bring in the calendar, maybe place it right here, we can. It still sort of snaps to a grid, but it's sort of wherever you'd like. So if you want to bring in a bunch, so maybe if we press and hold on this one, we'll tap on a few different apps here, slide over, and maybe put them on the side, maybe bring them over here, put them wherever we'd like. So you can arrange these however you'd like on your home screen and fully customize it. We also have the option to change the color of them. There's a new dark theme, but first let's go ahead and press and hold and then edit. And you'll see we have the option to customize. Under customize, we have some new options for large icons, so we can make them much larger, make them smaller. We have a dark mode for each one of the Apple icons. I'm sure we'll be able to change that later as third-party apps adopt that system. And we've got automatic to go along with our system settings as well. Under automatic, we've got it there, so we're already in dark mode, or we have the option to tint the apps, so we can change them to whatever color we'd like with this slider, bring it lighter, darker, remove some of the color, get rid of the saturation, have it super saturated, whatever you'd like. But again, light, dark, or automatic, whatever works for you. And if we go over to the left here, we'll go back on our main screen. You can see all of the new dark icons. And if we go into our control center, this has changed greatly. So if we turn off dark mode, everything flips back if you have it set on automatic. And if we go back, it will turn back on. Now, before we talk about the control center, here's a huge feature many people have wanted for a long time. If we go to any app in our system that actually supports it, such as X or Twitter, we can now require Face ID. We can lock all of our apps. So if we require Face ID, it gives us the question, do we want to require Face ID or hide and require Face ID? So we'll just require Face ID here. You'll see the little Face ID icon. Maybe we want to do the same with photos, and we'll require Face ID. Do that for photos as well. And it says apps with photos access. So a lot of these things you can change however you'd like. And then another thing, like I said, you can hide them. So if I want to maybe hide the sports app, let's require Face ID and hide it. It will disappear from here. It says hide sports, obscured app icon and name, and no app notifications or call. We'll hide the app. Once it's hidden, if we go over to our app library, scroll to the bottom, you'll see there's nothing in here. But if we go to the app library itself, we have a hidden folder. Tap on the hidden folder, it will unlock with Face ID, and then we can see our hidden apps. So if you want to get rid of those out of that, just go in here, don't require Face ID, and then it's no longer hidden. The same is true here. So that's a great new update I know many people have wanted. We also have the option, if we haptic press, to change our overall widgets. So maybe we want to go in, and if we haptic press on Shazam, you'll see we have some widget option sizes here. So if I want to bring in the small one, just tap on it here, bring in the small one, and it brings in the small one. Again, If we want to press and hold, we can maybe change it to the next size. Press and hold on the widget again, change it to the larger size. This is a great update that allows us to change this much faster to whatever we want it to be. So that's great to see them add that. Now to go along with this widget, we have a bunch of changes in widgets. I'll go over a few of them, but you'll see that the weather widget has been updated, so it looks a little different. And if we go over here, maybe press and hold, and we'll add a widget here. We'll just add a widget. We now have a new journaling widget, and that goes along with some updates to the journaling app. We also have a new home widget that has electricity rates. So if we go into this, you can see electricity usage that's coming a little bit later. And then also we have cycle tracking for a health widget. And we also have nights remaining for weekly vitals and daily vitals. If we scroll down further, you'll see we have some fitness widgets here. So if we go over, we have a new one for training load that goes along with watchOS 11. And then we also have some changes to things such as weather. You may notice some different changes throughout, but if we go into weather here, you'll see we can go back and forth. Some people are seeing where we have one that actually changes based on where you work, where you are at home, and gives you that updated information based on time and when you go to those places. So lots of really nice changes there and lots of updates for widgets. The Control Center gets a major design change this time around. If we go into the Control Center, you'll see it looks a lot different. We have some categories on the side with different options to slide down through. We can go back and forth or just tap to go to those. And we can also fully customize. So we have a couple buttons. In the upper left, I have a plus button. Press on it, and then we can add a control. We have an all-new control viewer that allows us to see all of the things that we can control. They call this the control gallery. And you'll see it's a little bit sluggish right now, but I'm sure that will speed up over time. But everything all the way down, and it's alphabetical, down to watch controls and much more. So if I want to add maybe hearing, I can just add it. And then I also have an option to resize it. If you have this little pull tab here, we can just pull to the side or pull down and resize it however we want. The same is true for anything else. If I want to move it around, move the overall brightness, move it over to a different page, I can just fully customize this. Also, the other thing I can do is press the button here in the upper right, and it will power off the phone or bring us to that screen. So no more holding down a button. Now that we've unlocked the phone, if we go back into our notification shade or center, press and hold, then tap on Customize, tap on Lock Screen, you'll see that we have our flashlight and our camera icon. We can now change and customize this. So remove the flashlight, add something else, and we have a bunch of different controls. Everything from our home controls to an alarm or magnifier. And just scroll down and you'll see there's a bunch of them for just about every Apple app. So if we want to maybe add a voice memo or something else, we can do that. Or we could make an Apple TV remote. Once we're done, press done, and then it saves, and you've got your remote. If you want to go into it, just press and hold, and you go right into your remote app. So this is really helpful for those of us that maybe have our flashlight set to the action button and instead want to use it there. Speaking of the action button, if we go back here, go into our action button, this is updated a little bit to recognize music. You'll see translate, magnifier, shortcuts, controls here where we can choose a control. So again, fully customizable, just like we had on the lock screen. So maybe we want a personal hotspot. We can do that. And then if we slide home, press and hold, you'll see not discoverable, but it's the personal hotspot. We can turn it on and off and it shows in a live activity. Within the action button, if we go back to the flashlight, there's some new animations. If I press and hold, you'll see we've got an animation here where we can slide up and down to increase or decrease brightness. This is a nice new animation here. Maybe if we go into voice memo, you'll see certain things are a little bit different. We have animations that are just surprises all throughout. So it's great to see that, and I'm glad that Apple keeps updating it. Now, another thing they've updated has to do with the volume buttons. You'll see here on the side, as I press the volume button, it actually presses where my thumb is. So as I press, you'll see it kind of pops into the screen. So notice that as I press up, or if I hold, it stays there. Press again, sort of pops out. So that's sort of a nice little animation they've updated. We've also got an updated settings pane. You may have already noticed this, but if we go back out, now at the first time of seeing the settings pane, it looks pretty familiar. But if you scroll down, it ends pretty quickly. That's because they've reorganized everything, and you'll see here that we have what looks to be pretty familiar, but if we go into something such as general, everything has an icon now. So they've added icons for every single option or setting here, under every single subsetting as well. So if we go back, scroll down, if you want to get to your apps, Go into your apps down here at the bottom, and then you can see everything, including Apple and third-party apps, all arranged alphabetically. Another thing they've done is make it much easier to search. So maybe you're looking for accessibility. You'll see there's some suggestions here at the top, and maybe you want to see access or accessibility. The search works much better now. So this will be updated with Apple Intelligence later on, but it definitely works a little bit better. Under General, if we go down a little bit, we have fonts. We now have system fonts. Now, I haven't found a way specifically to maybe change these, but we have a bunch of system fonts. So if you want to download one, you'll see here, if we scroll down a little bit further, there's a bunch of different system fonts. Just tap and download. And once one's downloaded, go into it and you can see the typefaces. So you'll see those here with the copyright data and much more. So this is great that it's included, and hopefully we'll be able to use that even more throughout the OS a little bit later. Again, another setting change. If we tap on our name at the top, as we scroll down, we now have a new sign in with Apple option, and we have iCloud here. If we go into iCloud, it looks a little bit different. Now it says subscriber edition. I hope this is maybe a placeholder. They really need to change that, but the overall menu has changed completely. So it talks about your backup if you go into it. That looks pretty familiar, but overall the menu itself has been updated. So it's just a nice little look change or design change. Also within settings, if we go to Wi-Fi and then tap the little eye next to the Wi-Fi you're on or that you have saved, you'll see we have a new switch to rotate our Wi-Fi address. And it says a rotating Wi-Fi address helps reduce tracking by changing your Wi-Fi address at various times. Tracking can happen when your address always appears the same to other devices and people using the same network as you. Within battery under settings, there's a change for the iPhone 15 models, where if we go into charging, you'll see that we can now adjust the charge limit from 80% in 5% increments all the way up to 100. So maybe we need a lot of our battery, but we want to maybe save some of it. Then you can make it charge maybe up to 95%. So we'll set the limit to 100, but you can change this however you'd like, or just let Apple do it with optimized battery charging. Another change that we've noticed is if you plug in your phone and maybe it's on a slow charger, it will notify you. So I have one here that's on a 5-watt charger on the 14 Pro Max. Let's plug it in and see what we get. So it should say it's charging here. There we go, it's charging. Let's go into settings. We'll get out of wallpaper and then we'll go to battery. Give it just a second. Let's turn on dark mode here. There we are. And let's see if it tells us that battery and charging. It's not saying that yet, but we are on 5% battery. And I have seen some people show it that it's actually on a slow charger. Maybe it'll take time to show this, but it's on a 5-watt charger that's pretty slow overall. Now, as far as wallpaper are concerned, we only have new ones for iOS 18. Here's what they look like if we go into this one, and we can swipe between the different styles. This is the only current available wallpaper: pink, yellow, azure, and purple. So those are available with both light and dark modes. So you can switch here, go to dark or light, and you can see that on each one. Now, unfortunately, there's not any new wallpaper yet or retro wallpaper like we were hearing. Maybe that will come in later betas, but there was a rumor that we would have retro wallpaper that would sort of show us maybe previous iOS update version wallpaper, as well as some sayings and things that Apple has used in advertising before. So we haven't seen that just yet, such as Think Different, but maybe we'll see that in the future. Photos gets a major redesign for iOS 18. If I go into Photos, we'll tap on the photo and maybe just pull down, you'll see it looks a little bit different. We have all of our photos here. We have recent days, we have people and pets, and if I continue to scroll down, you'll see pinned collections, memories, trips, and then albums, shared albums, featured photos, and then we have different media types as well. So lots of other things, and then we can customize this however we'd like. So if you want to move something around, remove it, replace it, you can do that. Again, if we scroll up to the top and then we swipe to the right, we actually have sort of a memory, or what Apple is calling topics. So if we scroll over, you'll see featured photos, and they're topics sort of featuring what we have with highlights every day, or a carousel. So that's something that's a little bit new. And if you swipe this direction, again, you can customize. So if you want to show something specific there, maybe replace it here with that, you can do that. So lots of different customization within the app, and updated editing as well is coming with Apple Intelligence. Now, the phone gets a huge update for people that have wanted this for some time. Now, some of this is coming with Apple Intelligence, but if we go into the phone app, Within the phone app, you'll now be able to record calls. This is something that's coming with Apple Intelligence and is coming a little bit later, but Apple showed it already where it would be coming to this device. So we'll see that in the future, and it will also notify the person on the other line that you're actually going to start recording them. Also, if maybe we tap on a couple different numbers here, it will start bringing up contacts with those numbers in them. I know many people have wanted this for a long time, and now it's here. So just type the number or start typing and it will bring up those contacts. To go along with phone calls, AirPods are getting an update. You can now respond to Siri with an incoming call using your head just by nodding yes or no to answer or reject an incoming call. AirPods Pro will also gain voice isolation and personalized spatial audio for gaming. So if these are updated yet, I don't believe they are. Let's see if we can see here. Once they update with the latest beta, you'll be able to use some of those features. I'll try that out and let me know if you'd like a separate video on trying those out as well. Safari gets an update, and many people have wanted a few different updates, but if we go into Safari and you'll see Apple Intelligence, many of these features will help Safari out. But if we go over to maybe, well, we'll go into 9 to 5 Mac, visionOS tidbits, tap here at the bottom left, and we have sort of a summary. We can show the reader or listen to the page. And then if we show reader, there's an all new reader design. So that's been updated with a whole new design, and those highlights can be turned on or off. That's within your settings. And if we go back, we go to our apps, and again, go down to Siri, or Safari rather. We'll go into Safari. Within Safari, if we scroll down, we have the option to turn on or off highlights. So if you don't want to see highlights, you can turn those off, and we'll see more of that again with Apple Intelligence. You may have already noticed there's an all-new Passwords app on the home screen. If I tap on this, it's locked by Face ID by default, and you'll see all of my passwords here. We've got passwords, passkeys, your Wi-Fi connections, along with security warnings, and then you can share this as well. So this is a really nice update just to have sort of a password manager such as 1Password, but built in. Before you had to go into sort of the keychain within your settings, this is a much nicer way to do it. If we go back home, Messages is getting a big update. Apple did officially announce that RCS messaging is included with iOS 18, and that means it will interact with Android phones with RCS without any issue. If we go into Messages, initially in Messages, everything pretty much looks the same. But if I type something such as this is a test message, and then go to the plus on the left, then scroll down, you'll see that I have a new option called Send Later. I can now schedule text messages. Just pick when you want it to send, what time, and then tap Send. Now it's actually scheduled to send a little bit later. So this is something many people have wanted for a long time. You can also highlight specific areas of text. So this is a new text. And then if I select maybe this area here, select, then slide over, I have the option for text effects. So there's a bunch of different text effects. So maybe I want it to maybe jitter here. You'll see it jitters. So if I send that, it will jitter. Of course, that will send all together in a group. And then if you delete that, everything sort of just went away. There are a few bugs in this still, but that gives you an idea that it has some of those effects. Tap back also gets an update. So if I press and hold, you'll see all of the different icons have changed and been updated. And then we also have a button to add any emoji we would like. We can use tap backs with any emoji now where we couldn't before. We also have a new option called Messages via Satellite with iMessage or RCS. So maybe you're in an area where you've lost Wi-Fi or your cellular signal, you'll still be able to send and receive information or text messages using satellite if you have a phone that supports it. So that's great news. If you do have one, we'll see how that works a little bit later. I'm not sure if it's active yet. Something to go along with that is emergency SOS via satellite. We've had that feature for a little while under emergency SOS, and this feature, if we scroll down, and if you're in need of using emergency SOS, you can now share streaming video and recorded media during that emergency call. Basically, the answering dispatcher can send a request for live photos or video to help you when you're in need. So again, all of those are coming with iOS 18. Apple did show off a little bit of a change for Apple Mail. However, most of that is part of Apple Intelligence, and there's not really an update just yet with different categorization and much more. So this will be coming a little bit later. Privacy has been redesigned, and when I was talking about settings earlier, they did update this as well. And you'll see, again, it's a little bit buggy, as you can see here, but one of the new updates allows us to customize contacts. This allows us to maybe share something specific with a contact with an app. So maybe we want to share one of our contacts with some people with different apps and some with other apps, but not allow the app to see every single one of them. So maybe under TikTok, you could select limited access and then add a specific contact that's allowed under that app. You can do that for any app here that allows it. And of course, that will be required a little bit later. But again, Google Maps, limited access, and then you can add your selected contacts. To go along with privacy, you'll be able to pair new accessories with better privacy, limiting what the app can actually see as far as Bluetooth networks. This is something, again, that's coming a little bit later, where the app developer and the hardware developer have to work to get this working properly, but the iPhone will not allow it to see all of your different devices. Now, accessibility gets some major updates. Many of these features were announced before, but we haven't seen them yet. If we go into our settings, go back to accessibility. Under accessibility, there's already one that we can see here where it says eye tracking. We knew this feature was coming, so if we go to eye tracking, turn it on, basically we have to follow the dot as it moves around the screen for it to calibrate. So let's see if we can do this. We'll see if it moves. This is probably learned from Vision Pro, so as I'm staring at the dot, I'm moving my eyes around, and we'll see how it's set up. This is the first time I'm setting it up, but this is a feature I think is great, especially for those that need it. So you can use this, and I'm sure it probably needs a little more work, but let's see how it works. So again, it's still setting up, and that's the setup. Maybe there's one more. There we go. So now I should be able to look at what I want. So it's a little bit difficult as I'm looking back and forth. If I swipe back, I want to look at zoom. I'm looking at zoom, and I didn't do that. So again, it's a little difficult to use, but it's probably going to get better in the future. But at least it's here and should be super helpful once it's sort of calibrated and fixed and working properly. So this is really great that it's even there. Within the magnifier, there's some updates. Now, I don't think all of these updates are ready just yet, but for accessibility needs, there's a new reader mode, and you'll be able to launch magnifier from the action button. If we go back into accessibility options under settings, there's another thing that I haven't seen yet, and that's music haptics. If we search for it, we can just search for music haptics, and you'll see it's right here, accessibility, music haptics. If we tap on it, there's nothing here. So you'll see that it's not here yet. Maybe it's just not ready yet. And if we scroll down, you'll see there's some menus that just don't make sense. So certain things don't seem to be ready just yet, but it is an early beta. If we go under VoiceOver, there's some updates here as well. If you are using VoiceOver, there's some options for new voices. There's a flexible voice rotor. So if we scroll down, you can see the rotor here, the rotor items. So if you want to use those. And then we also have the option for custom volume controls. So if you want to use those, you have it here with your speaking rate and everything else. And additionally, you have a customized VoiceOver keyboard shortcut on macOS 15. So that's something that you can update if you're using macOS. We also have vocal shortcuts. That's something new. So if we go down here, I saw it earlier right here, vocal shortcuts. It says teach your phone or your iPhone to recognize a custom phrase that you can say to quickly perform an action. Audio is processed on the phone. So if we set that up, we'll tap continue, and then we have different activities or Siri requests. So maybe if we scroll down here, we'll see if it can run maybe Better Siri. We'll use a custom phrase. Better Siri, and tap go. Better Siri. Better Siri. Better Siri. Then we'll tap continue. So that should be available. Don't share. And then we can use that as an action. So now we have the action for Better Siri with our vocal shortcuts. This will also work with atypical speech, and it was designed for users with acquired or progressive conditions that affect speech, such as cerebral palsy or maybe a stroke or ALS. Now we also have something new that they've added for vehicle motion cues. So if we go back here under motion, we have reduce motion and show vehicle motion cues. So if I'm in a vehicle, we should see cues when you're moving around, and I'll try and record that when I'm driving, see if that's something that shows up, have someone drive, and I can try this out. Also, there's some CarPlay updates with voice control, color filters, and sound recognition, but they're not anything I have right here as that's on CarPlay. But nice little updates there. There's also hover type, so many people have wanted that. That was on the iPad, now it's available on the iPhone. So hover typing, if we go into it, you'll see we now have hover typing. So a lot of these things are easier to find just by searching for them, but you will have these if you are a low vision user that needs it. Again, we have personal voice that we had before, but this has been updated this time around, so it works a little bit better, and it will work if maybe you have difficulty pronouncing or reading full sentences. You'll be able to use shortened phrases to set this up. Apple is also adding support for Mandarin Chinese. Live speech has some updates where Apple's adding categories and simultaneous capability with live captions, and voice control gains custom support for complex words and vocabularies. There's also some updates for visual trackpad, where if you're using assistive touch, you'll actually have the option to designate a small part of the screen to use as resizable trackpad. There's updates for Braille users and switch control as well. So lots of big updates as far as accessibility. If you'd like a separate video going over every little tiny details of accessibility, let me know in the comments below. If we go over to our customized home screen from earlier and go into the calendar, there's a couple updates here. You can now schedule reminders directly in the calendar app and sort of manage those if you'd like to do those, complete them, view them and create them, and then you have a customizable view. So you'll see it looks a little different, and typically it's squared off if I have text zoomed in a little bit. But if we go back, we'll go out here, you'll see the different month view. And if we go back in, again, the months have been updated, so it looks a little bit different this time around. Again, like I said, you can create a reminder. So if you want to set something here for a reminder, you now have the tab or the option to do that. So again, tap continue, and we can allow reminders to remind us directly from calendar. Makes sense. They sort of should be the same app anyway, it seems like. The calculator gets an update, and the big news is it's actually making its way to the iPad for the first time. I'll have a separate video on all the new iPad features, but on the iPhone it does get a couple new updates. It has math notes, and I'll show you that in notes in a moment, but it also has some calculator options. You have a little calculator in the bottom left. Tap on it, and we have the option to have a portrait mode scientific calculator, you'll see here, or we can go into math notes directly. So we have math notes here. We have no new notes, but if we go into notes, we can now make a new note that can calculate different equations. So one of the easy ways to show you is just maybe do 2 plus 458, and it gives us what the actual equation is right away. Sometimes you could just type something, type the equal sign, and it will give you the answer there. You can even graph, set variables, and much more. So as you're changing this, you can sort of move it around. You'll see some different suggestions below as well. If we go into the paperclip icon or attachment, we can go to record audio, and now we can record and transcribe audio in real time on your device. So now we're recording live audio, and if I tap this icon here, it's doing live transcription. So that's on device and even works back to iPhone 12. You don't need Apple Intelligence for this. So if we stop, tap done, you'll see it here. We can play it back and then press and hold, copy, share it, rename it, or delete it. If we have a note with a lot of different text, this is an iOS 16 video note from a long time ago, we have the option to collapse this. We can also mark it up, highlight it, and much more. Some of these features don't seem to work 100% just yet, but we will be able to do that in the future and on the iPad. So again, I'll show you more about notes on the iPad itself. If we go into the Freeform app, that gets some updates. If we go into the Freeform app, we have an update here where we can actually create scenes. You'll see right at the top, it says make a scene. Add a scene to easily jump to regions of the board. So tap these three dots here, and then we can add a scene. Adding a scene sort of makes you realize where something is or remembers where it is, so you can quickly jump between each scene around the board. So maybe you have a board you're collaborating with someone on, you've got a diagram in one area, you've got some text or ideas in another, you can jump back and forth between those scenes. There's also an improved diagram mode, and there's a option to sort of snap things to the board themselves. So if I want to see if I want to move this, it will snap to specific areas. Small updates, but it's nice if you use this. We also have a new gaming mode that's coming to iPhone. Now, developers have to support this, but it will actually reduce background activity to maximize the overall performance. So if you have a lot going on, it could help with that. There's also a new AirPods and game controller update that makes them more responsive with less lag. So that's great news. So maybe there was a little bit of lag or unresponsiveness with wireless. That should be improved with iOS 18. Maps gets a little bit of an update, and this is nice that we have hikes and custom routes now. So it says choose from thousands of curated national parks or hikes, or create your own routes when you request walking directions. So you can do that in a national park, or maybe you want to create your own one, you can do that as well. I've brought up Yellowstone National Park, and if we scroll down, we'll just keep scrolling, you can see popular hikes. So you can see all of the different places. Tap on more and you'll see all of them together here, and tap on one to see more information about it. It's got the distance, how long it will take, and the elevation. You can add it to your library and save it offline, and it shows you the download size. So this is great to have, and again, you can create your own routes for walking and hiking to go along with this. A new feature in Apple Wallet allows us to pay for things using our Apple Wallet just by bringing two phones together, but without sharing information. So maybe you want to pay somebody, but you don't want to give them all of your contact information at a dinner or something like that. You'll now be able to do that with iOS 18. You'll also have the option to redeem points balances in the wallet using online or in apps, and you can also access installment financing directly from the app. And event tickets will get an update with a redesign and event guides. Journal gets an update. I showed you the widget earlier, but if we go into the Journal app, give it a second to load and unlock, you'll see that we have log mindfulness minutes. We can now log that. We have a little update at the top here where it gives us insights into what we've been sort of journaling. Probably should do this a lot more. And then if we go to add a new one, we'll add a new entry. And this is iOS 18. We have a new option in the bottom right here to share how we're feeling during this time. So if we're neutral or very pleasant, we can leave that and then continue to journal right within the app. We can also find past entries faster now with an improved search or updated search. So if we want to search by photos or videos, we can now do that. If we go out of this and then we go into the Fitness app, this also gets an update. We've got a customizable summary, so you can edit the summary now, adjust it to whatever you want to see in whatever order you'd like to see. So maybe we want to see a running card or our awards. We can now add that all in our own view and customize it how we'd like. If we go into the Fitness Plus section, we have a new For You tab. So we have that, and we also have the option to search. So if we want to search for a specific workout, it makes it easier to find. So if you're looking for maybe just a simple walk, you can go in there and then search for a time to walk or anything else. So it's a nice little update, very minor, but super helpful. TV gets similar updates with insights. So if we go into the TV app, you'll see in TV, we have WWDC 2024. Let me turn it down here, but maybe we're watching something such as WWDC. We'll now have the option to see insights into maybe who's on screen with a TV show, movie, or I'm not seeing it here just yet, but we'll have that option. It also uses intelligence to know when you would want to see closed captioning. So maybe you jump back to a specific section or you jump forward. It will bring that up and allow you to see that. Additionally, we have options for audio where we can enhance the dialogue. So if we go into that, we can boost the dialogue just like we can on Apple TV. So if we want to enhance it or boost it just so we can hear it a little bit more clearly, we'll be able to do that now with iOS 18. If we go into the Home app, there's an update here that allows us in the future, at least if your door lock supports it, to allow us to give guests access on schedule for things such as a door lock, a garage door opener, or an alarm. So you could schedule, maybe you have a friend coming over and they can unlock the door for maybe a period between 9 and 10 p.m. Something along those lines, or maybe you have an Airbnb and you want to rent that out, you could give someone access. We also have an update for hands-free unlock. So hopefully my door lock supports this, but hands-free unlock as you approach it. And then we can now view our electricity usage. So maybe we go to my office here. We'll go to the top. We have energy, and we had this before, but in the future we'll have home electricity usage based on what devices are using it. Home can also integrate with robot vacuums later this year, and Siri with Apple Intelligence will be across all of these apps. So there'll be many more features and changes to go over as I find them, but there's a lot of different little things, such as the weather widget that's a little different here, changes all throughout. But this is a huge update with a bunch of visual improvements. Now, if you're wondering if you should install iOS 18 Beta 1, well, I would say absolutely not on your main device. I would give it some time or at least wait until public Beta 1. That's usually the safest bet, or maybe 2 to 3 betas in. I normally never recommend the first beta on your main device. If you're wondering about battery life, well, I've been using this but charging this throughout the day since I've been making this video, and I would not expect battery life to be great on this. My capacity is at 96% with 209 cycles, and yesterday I had 2 hours and 44 minutes of screen active time, 9 hours and 49 minutes of screen idle time. Again, I've charged today, but I have 5 hours and 21 minutes of screen active time, 2 hours and 26 minutes of screen idle time. So it hasn't been great, but it is working okay. But again, it may go down very fast tomorrow when I'm using it full time. As far as performance, well, it seems to be pretty good overall. I have it on the 14 Pro Max and 15 Pro Max. So far, I'm hearing lag throughout the keyboard. I'm seeing lag in different apps from time to time, and in general, it works okay, but it definitely needs some improvement. It's very much an early beta, but not bad. I did run a Geekbench on it just to see how it would do, even though I didn't expect much from it. And you'll see I had 2,832 for single core, 6,877 for multi-core. So a little bit down from before, but again, it's processing so much in the background, it has a lot left to do. So I would definitely hold off on your main device and maybe use it on, maybe if you have an old iPhone or an old iPad, try it out there. So that's everything in iOS 18 Beta 1 so far. Of course, I expect to find many more features, and I'll keep you updated in follow-up videos for that. Let me know your favorite features so far in iOS 18 Beta 1. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.